Good morning, everybody. This is Weldon here, Sports Media TV Unfiltered. Thanks for tuning in today. So, I was glancing around the free agency rumors and stuff like that, and there's some pretty breaking news happening in Miami. So, we're back at this point again, where the Miami Heat are having negotiation issues with Dwayne Wade's contract, and it has been confirmed that Dwayne Wade's camp has reached out to two Texas powers in the San Antonio Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks. That is the first thing, and there's a couple other teams in the conversation as well, but it's just a few select teams. So it's very hard to tell what's going on with the Dwayne Wade situation. It seems like he's kind of just called Miami's bluff, maybe. His camp, I guess, because he doesn't do his own negotiations. But it would seem as if, he's very very active in finding another place to play. But you just can't imagine Dwayne Wade actually leaving the Heat. I just don't. I just find that very hard to believe would occur. So I just don't think that it means very much, the whole Dwayne Wade talk. I would say that if they don't reach any negotiations by July, or at least within the upcoming weeks, if we don't hear any good news in that department, then that might be cause to pause, a reason to kind of look back and maybe say, okay, maybe it's kind of a big deal. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see exactly how serious it is. In terms of what Dwayne Wade is doing with the Heat, or whatever they're doing to negotiate the contract. So we're just gonna have to see how the two sides make out over the next couple of weeks. Because I think usually once July starts, that's when you're gonna see a lot more off-season trades, and like the negotiating gets much more heated. It becomes much more serious. So anyone who's like pulling strings past that point, that's when I'd be kind of concerned. If I were a Heat fan, I guess. I'm not a Heat fan, so I see this happened last year. And obviously, D. Wade wasn't very satisfied with the contract that he did sign last year. He just wanted to play through it that year, I guess, or whatever the reasoning was. So this was kind of coming. This was kind of like a looming thing that it was bound to happen. In terms of the whole contract situation with D. Wade and the Heat. He still wants a long-term deal, and obviously they're not ready to. I guess they're not ready to give him a long-term deal or something of that nature. But outside of that, Kevin Durant has added some more teams to the list of interviews. He's scheduled to sit down with the Clippers. Yes, the LA Clippers. I don't understand why, but the LA Clippers. The New York Knicks. And the Boston Celtics. So, in terms of this, I'm not sure I'm not sure how they're going to be able to. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to make this out. Um, these last three teams, anyway, because we know that the other two teams, I talked about them the other week, or the other day, sorry. Um, the Golden State Warriors and the Spurs obviously have pretty much the best chance at probably signing Kevin Durant. And Miami, um, I think if D Wade walks, which is a very slim, I think there's a very slim chance that D Wade would actually walk away from Miami. But on the off chance that D Wade decides to walk away from Miami, which means they wouldn't have that cap hold on him. Then Miami could make a pretty decent run at Durant, because you have Durant, have some young talent around him, you have a few veterans left, so so yeah. Then I mean, if you're willing to bank on that, then sure, Miami has somewhat of a chance, I guess, if Durant decides to walk. They probably have the most money out of those teams to throw at him, the Spurs and the Warriors, because the Spurs and the Warriors would both have to give up. They'd have to shed a lot of salary cap just to make room to squeeze this move in. And I think Durant's going to come a little more expensive than Aldridge was. And if I recall correctly, Aldridge, the Spurs pretty much gave him like 88 mil over 4 years, something like that. So they were paying a little bit over $22 million a year for LaMarcus, and they had Kawhi on 5 years, 100 million or something like that, something of that nature. It was a humongous contract. So long story short, their salary cap barely stayed in the positives after they made those moves. And that was with Danny Green taking the hometown discount. 4 years, $44 million. So that would be my concern with the Spurs and the Warriors, because they have players who are not necessarily superstars. They're complementary stars, I guess. Certain players that just do things very well, like certain role players that they really need, like keys to their key players to what their strategies are, that they would have to give up just to put themselves in the positioning to even entertain signing a Durant at this point. Because, Durant is going to cost you well over $30 million a year, I think, with the max deal that he's due to get. That's kind of my concern about it. Yeah, the only team that's really in position financially to gather Durant out of any of these teams is really his hometown team, OKC. That's the only team really, I would say, is actually in a good position to be able to sign Durant and still be in good shape financially, especially because they got rid of Serge Ibaka's outrageous contract. So, they're the ones who actually, it would make sense for him to sign if he wanted to get the most money. And I'm pretty sure money's going to have a little bit of something to do with it. But before I was kind of saying, maybe he might walk for the right amount of money. Maybe he might prioritize winning. But I also said that Oklahoma City does have a championship roster already, technically. Now you're factoring in 2 rookies, but still you have Steven Adams there. You have Enes Kanter. You still have everybody there. and everybody's young and athletic and springy, so you don't have anybody who's like a step slow. Like it's just a perfect fit, really. They just need to work out some little things between him and Westbrook as far as like how they're utilized on the court, and they pretty much have a championship roster, a shot at being in the finals, for a couple of years. Maybe not back to back, but maybe every other year, like I'm saying, perennial finals contenders, So, I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, my gut is saying that Durant is going to stay. That's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm pretty much thinking that Durant is going to stay where he is. So, I mean, money-wise, even if he wanted to do a one-year deal, Oklahoma City could give him a sweet one-year deal that'll hold him over into Russell Westbrook's free agent year. The year after, I guess you could say the season after this season, that off season, yeah, Russell Westbrook will be off his contract. So I would say worst case scenario, Oklahoma City talks Durant into a one-year deal, and then that one-year deal hold him over right into that salary cap spike the next season. So then they could offer him even more money. And at that point, I just think Billy Donovan coaching and everything's in place for them, man. Like last year was a huge improvement for them as a team. They overcame. They brought their game up another level last year. So I think they could get a little bit more up there. I think they could have an even better year this year coming up. They could have an even better year now that they know some things that work for them. So that's my thing about OKC. Like that's why I find it very surprising that not that he would entertain leaving, but entertain so many teams. Like I'm not sure if he's just trying to fill out what his options are, or if he's serious, or it's kind of hard to tell because I couldn't imagine. It's hard to imagine Kevin Durant leaving Russ. It's kind of like a weird thing. It's kind of weird. I don't think that would happen. At least not so easily. I just don't think. I don't think it's possible. It's like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook are kind of like they play together at this point for what, at least like 5 years maybe, something of that nature, and they've been to the finals together, so they know what it's like to make it to the finals. They've made it to the conference finals before. Like, yeah, they didn't make the playoffs the year before last, but they were injured. You lost your pretty much your best player, so you can't help that. It's just called a bit of bad luck, but you got a good lottery pick out of it. You acquired Steven Adams. So to me, it just seems like Oklahoma City they have a good enough team to win a championship. Definitely, they're definitely not they're not like garbage or anything. Like they're already contenders. They're just dark horse contenders right now. I think they could take the next step and win one. They're definitely not short of talent to do it. They're definitely not short of athleticism and youth to do it. That's for sure. Chock full of that. Those guys only get better every year. I think if they just work on if they just work out some little stuff, then they should be just fine. So, I thought this free agency would kind of blow over as far as the whole Durant situation goes. Like when as I was viewing for this season, for the 2015-2016 season, um, I was thinking like, man, the way OKC's playing, I think that Durant will be I think that Durant's just probably going to stay anyways. Regardless, win, lose, or draw, I think he's just going to stay. That's what I was thinking, because I was like, I mean, the money. I mean, it's not like they're playing bad. They're just in the same conference as the Warriors and the Spurs. So, I mean, it just doesn't seem like Durant will leave. But who knows? He could just bolt up and leave. And if he does, then, then we might be looking at a different NBA next year. Like, as far as just the way the game is going to be played. If Durant goes somewhere and maybe makes it out more efficient, or just, becomes, or, gets over the hump. Because who knows? That could be a thing. But it's highly unlikely that. It's very, very unlikely that Kevin Durant would leave Oklahoma City, at least not this year. Like, if him and Russ are free agents in the same year, so if him and Russ were in free agency together, then I think that would influence his decision as well, because they know they played with each other, so simple. But as far as like just him alone leaving this year, when he could lose out on, what is it, close to like $28 million, something like that, close to like 20 million or something like that. Some crazy number. He could lose a lot of money. Or he could make significantly less money if he went elsewhere at this point, because Oklahoma City has all his, his rights and stuff like that. They can go over, I think Oklahoma City could even go over the cap if they needed to. But I think Kevin Durant is restricted. So yeah, Oklahoma City can go offer for offer with Kevin Durant. But yeah, outside of that, guys, that was like my little powwow talk about the free agency situation, Kevin Durant. And on a side note, the Knicks are heavily favored to make a run at Joakim Noah. I'm not sure how, really. I guess he wants to play with Derrick Rose. I don't know how the Knicks should react to that. I'm not sure if they should bite on that, or I don't know if they should go that route. I mean, they have Kristaps at this point. At this point, they're probably going to play Melo at the 4. I mean, that's what it seems like, because they did play Melo at the 4 a little bit last season. They played him at the small ball 4. They would play small with Kristaps running the 5 and Melo at the 4. Albeit they had Robin Lopez, so they could start off with Melo at the 3. So, I mean, who knows? If they're going to have Melo play 4, then which seems like what they like to do. They like to play small a lot. And they would kind of have like Melo and Robin Lopez, or Melo and Porzingis. Typically Melo and Porzingis together. I mean, you could do that, I guess. But my thing would just be, I'm not really sure how that would work out. And Joakim Noah is kind of injury prone anyway, so, I mean, he had a really good Defensive Player of the Year season. A couple of them, I believe, right, or something like that, 1 or 2. Long story short, he was pretty good. And then he kept getting injured. Like, we haven't seen him play anything close to a full season. So it's very hard to judge. But because of what he does have left in the tank, it could be a good gamble. It could be a pretty good gamble. But you would just think that New York would try to fill in somewhere else, really. At least, like, try to fill in, like, some spots on the bench rather than go out and go after, I mean, good player, but just, no. And plus, we don't know how much money he's going to actually want. And if they're serious about making a run at Kevin Durant, which I doubt is going to happen because they haven't even made the playoffs in the past 2 seasons. But if they somehow wind up getting Kevin Durant to sign a deal with them, they're going to need as much extra money as possible. So it's really dependent on that. And they've already picked up Derrick Rose's outrageous salary. Let's not forget that. Derrick Rose has like $20 million owed to him on his contract. And they're clearly not waiving it. They're going forward with Derrick Rose. So that plus another overinflated contract probably not going to give you the best shot of being able to compete for Kevin Durant services. Just saying. But that could all be a knot if Oklahoma City just matches whatever the offer is, or just, closes the deal on Kevin Durant, gets him to stay at home. Who knows? But with that being said, once again, thanks for watching. That was my little mini rant. Hope you guys have a great day.